Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.
This is why you need Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis brings the realness. Dive into the heart of sports with the most passionate commentary around. From pro to high school, Jalen's got the insight and energy you crave. Catch all the action weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network, only on YouTube. Join the conversation and elevate your sports knowledge with Centex Primetime. Don't miss it.
Need video or audio solutions? Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency, can transform any event. Check this out. We're talking live streaming that's crisp and clear, event audio that hits every note, and church video and audio solutions that'll enhance worship. Corporate events, we got those on lock too. From concerts to conferences, Lighthouse Streaming and Audio makes your vision shine. Book your appointment now at lighthousestreaming.com or call 254-252-4206 for a free consultation. Let's elevate your event and light up the stage.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Streaming. Over the last 4 years, we've had some tremendous successes, none of which could have been accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Jalen Gillis. You may know me from Centex Sports Network. We're starting a new platform, Recruit 254. Our mission is to highlight the amazing student athletes of 254. So if you're in the Waco, Killeen, Temple, Mart, Marlin, or any surrounding 254 areas, follow this platform and join the movement. Recruit 254. 254, let's run it up.
My name is Emily Adams. I'm the marketing director for the Texas Asphalt Pavement Association. We are here at our 3rd annual MAPS conference at the Waco Convention Center in beautiful Waco, Texas. I think the event has exceeded all of our expectations. We had an amazing turnout and great sessions and nothing but positive feedback. So this is our first conference in a convention center, and I'm used to working with hotels where there's like one person to talk to for everything. And so at the last minute, we realized we needed audio and video services. And so I contacted Lighthouse Streaming and Audio, and they were very quick to respond. They were able to, even though it was the last minute, they were able to fit us into their schedule, and they provided us with technicians and equipment to record our sessions, and we'll be able to provide the people who are speaking at those sessions with great video of themselves. I would highly recommend them. I highly recommend Lighthouse Streaming and Audio. I had nothing but a pleasant experience, and if we come back to Waco again, which we hope to do, I know I'll be in touch with them.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.
This is why you need Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis brings the realness. Dive into the heart of sports with the most passionate commentary around. From pro to high school, Jalen's got the insight and energy you crave. Catch all the action weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network, only on YouTube. Join the conversation and elevate your sports knowledge with Centex Primetime. Don't miss it.
Need video or audio solutions? Lighthouse Streaming, a full
Accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
What's up, everybody? Our mission is to highlight the amazing student athletes of 254. So if you're in the Waco, Killeen, Temple, Mart, Marlin, or any surrounding 254 areas, follow this platform and join the movement. Recruit 254. 254, let's run it up.
My name is Emily Adams. I'm the marketing director for the Texas Asphalt.
Hello and welcome back to Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to bring you through the prime time topics in sports, not just here in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today on Centex Prime Time. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for those of you watching with us over on YouTube, Centex Sports Network. YouTube.com/Centex Sports TV over on YouTube. You can check us out there. Hit that subscribe button. Click the bell so you can get notified whenever we go live here, 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays, Monday through Thursday, really, right here on Centex Sports Network. Folks, we got a lot to talk about and a lot to cover here today as the NBA playoffs are on fire right now as the Indiana Pacers come back from down 20-plus in the fourth quarter to come back and get a victory led by Tyrese Halliburton as the Pacers take a 1-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. We've got Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals starting in a couple of hours from now over on ESPN. 7:30 is when that tip-off is scheduled for. So we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about some more Baylor football. We've been talking about them a lot this week. We'll talk some more about Baylor football and what we expect for them coming up this upcoming season in 2025. Pretty favorable schedule that the Baylor Bears have. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. We'll talk about the Midway Panthers, their softball team, playing in the regional finals today. We'll talk about that game a little bit. We'll talk about some NIL deals as well and also talk a little bit of NFL news here today. So once again, I want to thank everybody for watching. You can follow me. You'll see my at the bottom ticker at Jalen Gillis on Instagram. You can follow me there. You can also follow this show at Centex Primetime over on Instagram as well. You can also follow the Twitter at Centex Sports TV. Same thing for YouTube and Facebook as well, Centex Sports TV. You can check us out there. Well, folks, let's get straight to it. The New York Knicks have one of their biggest playoff collapses. For most people, this will be the biggest playoff collapse ever, but it's the New York Knicks, so they've got a long history of playoff collapses, unfortunately. We saw the Indiana Pacers come back from down big in this game, scoring 10 points in the final 50 seconds. I mean, they were down 13 or 14 with about a minute and a half left. All odds were against them. This team kept fighting, kept going. Aaron Nesmith, who got the start in yesterday's game, goes 8 for 9 from three-point range. I think at least 5 of those in the last couple of minutes of that fourth quarter. That really propelled this team and helped them get on to tie this thing up going into overtime. Tyrese Halliburton hit a crazy shot after some missed free throws from Karl Anthony Towns, after some missed free throws from OG Anunoby. Huge shot made by Tyrese Halliburton that we all thought was a game winner, myself included, thought was going to be a game winner, but turns out was not a game winner. His foot was just barely on the line, very reminiscent to the Kevin Durant foot on the line thing that we saw, I believe 2021 when the Milwaukee Bucks won their championship when Kevin Durant was on the Brooklyn Nets. Looked a lot like that. Thought that won the game. It didn't. It tied the game. It was pretty much that same scenario, except with the Nets, it would have been the series clincher if Kevin Durant would have hit that shot. But they go into overtime after the crazy shot that bounced way up in the air and came down for Tyrese Halliburton. They come out, play great in overtime as well, close this game out. Indiana Pacers pull off of what most people thought an impossible comeback in this game to be able to win it. Tyrese Halliburton led this team with 31 points, 11 assists. Aaron Nesmith right behind him with 30 points, 8 for 9 from three. Like I said, a lot of those in that fourth quarter. This Indiana Pacers team really just wouldn't go away. The New York Knicks did all the things that they said they were going to need to do to be able to win this game. So they need a big game for Brunson. Brunson comes out and gives you 43. Had 7 turnovers. That's probably something he wish he could take back. But he comes out and gives you 43 points. We said yesterday right here on the show, Karl Towns during the regular season averages 30 or 30-plus against this Indiana Pacers team. What does he do in game one? He comes out and gets 35 and 12 in game one. Still was not enough to be able to keep the Indiana Pacers off. They came all the way back, battled in this game. This is a game of the game is never over, especially when you're playing a team like Indiana with such a high-powered offense, led by Tyrese Halliburton, coached by Rick Carlisle. This is a high-powered offense. You cannot give these guys any tiny bit of room to be able to make a comeback in this game. That is exactly what they were able to do in this game, making that big comeback. This Pacers squad just did not give up. Aaron Nesmith blacked out from three. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He had to black out from three for them to be able to come back in this game. The Knicks got a little bit lackadaisical, got a little bit complacent, started letting things go. I've seen reports of different people saying, oh, the Knicks look tired. I thought that somewhat last night, but at this point, you got to be used to playing your 30, 40 minutes that you played. Mikal Bridges played 46 minutes in this game. Josh Hart played 44 minutes in this game. Guys playing a huge amount of minutes. What I would have liked to see more is a little bit more of Mitchell Robinson. I understand Karl Towns was dominating, but there were times where they played Mitchell Robinson and Cat at the same time. I would look to do something more of that because they were dominant when they did that. Mitchell Robinson really, really was doing a great job of protecting that paint. Had 8 rebounds in just the 20 minutes that he played. The Knicks really did almost everything right besides getting lazy and letting go towards the end of that game. Outside of that, the Knicks did everything you want for them to be able to come out with the victory in this game. The Pacers, on the other side, you get the win, you steal one. Everybody says the series doesn't start until the home team loses. Well, the series has started as the Pacers steal one on their home floor. But if you're the Pacers, you got to feel like, hey, we kind of just stole one, but we got to lock it in. We got to get this together because you cannot come out and play this way against the Knicks and think you're going to win. Last night, it took a miraculous effort from Aaron Nesmith plus a crazy shot from Tyrese Halliburton to close it out just for them to be able to scrape by and win this game. If they don't do that, not only do they lose, this is a blowout. I thought we were going to come into this talking about a blowout and how the Knicks dominated in that fourth quarter, third and fourth quarter, to be able to close it out. Even in the fourth, every time the Pacers would go on a run, the Knicks would go on a run. They were trading baskets for majority of that game, really until like the last 3 minutes of the game when they completely and totally blew it. Outside of that, the Knicks, you got to stick to what you were doing. Karl Anthony Towns, if he's getting you 30+ and Jalen Brunson gets you 40, you have to expect to win. There's no way the Knicks didn't think they were going to win this game. The crowd was stunned when Tyrese Halliburton hit that shot. He put up the choke symbol. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Tyrese Halliburton has done some sometimes he comes off, says some pretty corny stuff, but that was actually pretty cool, paying homage to Reggie Miller, who also did the choke symbol against the Knicks in the 90s, with Reggie Miller being in the building. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. But they're going to need to do more if they're going to come out and win this series. I said yesterday, if the Pacers find a way to win this game, I got the Pacers winning the series. Coming back today after watching the game yesterday, I don't feel that way. I feel like, yes, the Pacers did win, but it took so much for them to be able to win. It took a miraculous shot from Tyrese Halliburton. It took Aaron Nesmith going 8 for 9 from 3, hitting 5 threes in a row in the fourth quarter for them to be able to close it out. Karl Towns missing free throws when he's not a guy that misses a lot of free throws. OG Anunoby missing free throws when he's not a guy that misses a lot of free throws. So there was a lot of things that went into them losing this game, not just the Pacers being unstoppable. Now, whoever decides they're going to play defense in this series is going to be the one to win. Because 138 to 135 in an NBA playoff game is absolutely crazy. I mean, look at just last round, OKC versus the Nuggets. A lot of those games were 90-something to 80-something, reminiscent of 2000s basketball. This last night was, it was an awful defensive showing from both teams. 138 to 135 in an Eastern Conference Finals game is not a stat line you would expect to see. But it was definitely very entertaining to be able to watch these two teams duke it out against each other. It's going to make for an even crazier game, too. It takes a lot to make that Knicks crowd be quiet. That's exactly what Tyrese Halliburton and those guys did yesterday. So that was a huge win for the Indiana Pacers. Being able to steal one at home like that when you pretty much were for sure you were going to lose, that can give your team a lot of confidence. That can propel this Pacers team to come out and get a victory. I think they have to change a lot of other things if they're going to come out victorious in this series. As far as beating the Knicks 4 times, it's one thing to beat somebody once off some crazy shots, but to beat somebody 4 times, you got to really be locked in. You got to really have a plan. You got to do more than what the Indiana Pacers did yesterday, even though they got the win. Great win for Tyrese Halliburton and for the Knicks. After the broadcast, I saw Charles Barkley, saying, hey, it's time to let Mr. Halliburton, which is Tyrese Halliburton's dad, back into the building. He got banned after he was getting in the face with Giannis after the Pacers beat the Bucks. He did not get to attend any other games, and he didn't get to attend any other games in the Cleveland series Now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're saying, hey, man, it's time to go ahead and let him come back. He's paid his dues, all of this. I get it. I would be mad if they let him come back. But I did see the footage of him in whatever bar he was at watching the Pacers play and watching them get the win over the Knicks. And just by the way, he jumping around and acting, I'm like, nah, this dude is still going to be the same. He might get in somebody else's face again. Now, what I will agree with Chuck is he said, hey, he's not going to do all of that in New York. So you can let him come back. He's not going to come to New York doing all of that, getting in people's faces. He's not going to make it out of there. He ain't lying. A fan got almost jumped outside of just walking somewhere random in New York just for having a Tyrese Halliburton jersey on. And this was last week before the series even started. They was throwing trash at the dude, full trash bags at the dude and everything. So he ain't lying about that. Tyrese Halliburton's dad, he's not going to be doing all that crazy stuff when you come to New York. You're going to act like you got some sense when you go there because there's too many people, and those fans are ridiculous. I think we've gotten so enamored with these different fan bases because all the New York teams suck outside of the Yankees, really, and that's debatable. Some baseball fans will tell you otherwise. As y'all can see, I got my Astros hat on, so I ain't going to get the Yankees no compliments. But outside of the Yankees, most of the New York teams are trash, and we kind of forget how crazy and rabid this fan base can get. We're starting to see it again, even though last night they got put on hush mode by Tyrese Halliburton. This is going to be a great series. This is the series that I had the Knicks winning in, I guess I would say 7 because it's going to be hard to win at Allen Fieldhouse in Indiana for a Game 6 if it was to go that far. So I still got the Knicks winning this one in 7, even though the Pacers did come up with a great game yesterday and was able to steal that game away. What a huge accomplishment. Huge accomplishment for the Indiana Pacers, not only to win this game, but to take that step in being able to get out of the Eastern Conference Finals. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, largely due to injury. We all know that. They played the Knicks. The Knicks' whole team was hurt. They played the Bucks. The Bucks' whole team was hurt. This year, they played the Bucks. The whole team was hurt. They played the Cavaliers. Whole team was hurt. Going to have to see the Pacers win a series against somebody healthy. They've got a chance to do that. They've got a 1-0 lead. Like I said last week, I think the last thing the NBA wanted is to see an Oklahoma City versus Indiana finals because the ratings on that can't be – they're not going to be as big as New York versus whoever, or if L.A. was in this some kind of way. They're not going to be as big, or if Luka was playing or Nikola Jokic was playing. Indiana versus OKC, that sounds like a college football game. That doesn't sound like the NBA Finals. But Indiana's one step closer to being able to take that game on. The game tonight, Minnesota versus OKC. Now, this has been a really, really fun matchup. At least through that first 3 quarters, it was a fun matchup. In that fourth quarter, Oklahoma City kind of put their foot down and showed that they were dominant in this game. Coming into game 2, Oklahoma City is an 8.5-point favorite. I think that's kind of crazy. I know they blew them out. But this is still the Western Conference Finals, man. Vegas is saying we don't see this being very competitive. 8.5-point spread for going in favor of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City did have a dominant game in that first game. Julius Randle was dominant in the first half versus Oklahoma City. Couldn't do much in the second half, but he didn't have much help. This series is going to be on Anthony Edwards. If you want to be the face of the league, if you want to be the guy with all the pressure, if you want to be known as the man, best guard in the league. We all saw the interview he had with Stephen A. I think a year ago when he was talking about him versus Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's saying, I'm picking me every time. Of course, which we all would think he would say in that scenario. But if you want to do that, you got to go out here and prove it. Here's your chance to prove it. SGA gets awarded with the MVP trophy yesterday. A great honor for him, becoming the 3rd Oklahoma City player in franchise history to win the MVP. Sam Presti showing his greatness once again, even though others like Stephen A. and others are saying Sam Presti's got to close the deal. He's got to be able to go out there and win a championship. Okay, well, he's done everything, almost everything you could possibly do to put a championship caliber team on the floor. They just weren't able to close. It's not his fault that they lost to LeBron and them in 2012. It definitely is not his fault that they lost to the Warriors in 2016 when they had a 3-1 lead over the Golden State Warriors. That's not Sam Presti's fault. It's not Sam Presti's fault that Paul George got locked up by Joe Ingles in the first round of the playoffs after having a near MVP season. That's not Sam Presti's fault. Something you can give him credit for. Drafting Kevin Durant, who was an MVP. Drafting Russell Westbrook, who was an MVP. Making a huge, huge trade for Paul George, who at the time was an MVP candidate. Believed in what you saw out of SGA and the Clippers. Traded for him. Changed your entire franchise around. So I'm not going to be giving Sam Presti any type of flack, even though I think Oklahoma City is the favorite to win this championship now that Boston is gone. I think OKC has to be that favorite. I'm not going to give him a lot of flack if they don't get it because Sam Presti has done a phenomenal job. With that being said, Anthony Edwards, if you want to be considered the best guard in the West, you want to be considered the best guard in the league, these are those moments. You got bailed out last week in that last series playing against – you got bailed out playing against the Warriors because Steph Curry was hurt. On top of Steph Curry being hurt, Julius Randle had his best playoff series of his career. So those are the reasons why the Minnesota Timberwolves moved on. It really wasn't a lot to do with Ant. Not saying that Ant didn't contribute and that Anthony Edwards didn't do anything. Of course he did something. But a lot of those games we saw 19 points. We saw 22 points, 23 points, stuff like that. We didn't see the 27.9 that he averaged through the regular season. We haven't seen that. We saw a couple of explosive outbursts against the Lakers, but we all figured out after watching that series, the Lakers are probably one of the worst defensive teams in the league after watching that, at least in the playoffs. But since then, what has Anthony Edwards been able to do in these playoffs so far? He's had some decent games here and there, like he's not done anything. But Kyrie was on here last week and he said Julius Randle's been their best player, and you can't win a championship with Julius Randle being your best player. And I agree with that statement wholeheartedly, 100%. Definitely agree with that statement because you can't win. If Julius Randle's going to be your number one guy, you have no chance. I'm just going to be honest. You have no chance of being able to close this one out. When you look back at Anthony Edwards' series against the Warriors, in Game 3 or Game 4, I believe it was, he had 36, and that was a huge game for them. 30 in Game 5. But we saw 22 in the closeout game. He had 12 assists to go along with it. We saw 20 in Game 3 that he had. That has to be 25-plus against this Oklahoma City team. That is not – this Oklahoma City team is not the Warriors, even if they're fully healthy. But they definitely aren't the Warriors without Steph Curry. The Warriors without Steph Curry is – who's scared of that? Draymond Green playing the 5 and Jimmy Butler playing point guard? Nobody's scared of that. So, Anthony Edwards, you got to take that next step. And it's got to start tonight because I feel like if they don't come out tonight and at least be competitive, not saying they can't get one on their home floor in Minnesota, but if they come out and get smacked like Vegas is expecting them to get smacked with this 8.5-point spread, I don't see how could you? How could you put Anthony Edwards as the top guard in the West? SGA, everybody wants to call him a free throw merchant and all that, which, I mean, I get what y'all are saying. I agree. Some of those were flops that SGA was doing in that Game 1. But SGA just figured out how to make people foul him. A lot of people play dumb basketball in the NBA right now. That just is what it is. Basketball IQ, the skill level is better than it ever has been in the NBA. But the IQ is, I'm not going to say the lowest in the NBA, but the IQ is not in an all-time high right now. With knowing that, SGA knows how to get fouled. He knows how to pick his spots. He knows if I hit you with this up and under, you're going to jump and I can just get 2 free throws instead of me trying to do some type of fadeaway shot or whatever his next counter move would be. I can just go up and you're going to foul me because you're not disciplined. You're not a disciplined defender and you're not thinking about what's going on. You're just reacting. So I can't give him the free throw merchant as far as him not being the MVP. Like he's such a free throw merchant, he shouldn't be the MVP. I've seen people saying that. Okay, he gets to the free throw line a lot. But what MVP doesn't get to the free throw line a lot? I mean, Nikola Jokic is probably one of the only ones that didn't shoot 10-plus free throws almost in their MVP season. I know LeBron was getting close to that number. Kevin Durant was close to that number. Joel, I mean, we don't even have to talk about Joel Embiid. He's shooting 15, 16, 17 free throws a game. But SGA, I'm not going to give him that, man. He just knows how to manipulate the game. He knows what to do. He knows how to be able to move around and to be able to get fouls on the court as well. So not going to give him that title, but SGA definitely did have a couple of flops in that last game. We're going to talk some more about this game one. We're going to talk some more about this game one in just a minute, or a little bit later on in the show, as that game getting ready to tip off at 7:30, I believe, is when that game will be tipping off. We've got some more quick takes we got to jump into, but first we got to go to a quick break, touch the top of the hour. When we come back here on the show, still got to jump into some more quick takes. We got to talk some NFL, got to talk some local sports topics. We'll touch a couple of these high school players that we think are going to be doing good coming up in this 2025 season. And also, we're going to talk about some more about this Minnesota versus Oklahoma City game coming on at 7:30 tonight. So stay tuned and stay locked in, folks. We'll be right back after this short break here on Centex Primetime.
Need video or audio solutions? Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency, can transform any event. Check this out. We're talking live streaming that's crisp and clear, event audio that hits every note, and church video and audio solutions that'll enhance worship. Corporate events, we got those on lock too. From concerts to conferences, Lighthouse Streaming and Audio makes your vision shine. Book your appointment now at lighthousestreaming.com or call 254-252-4206 for a free consultation. Let's elevate your event and light up the stage.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Streaming. Over the last 4 years, we've had some tremendous successes, none of which could have been accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Jalen Gillis. You may know me from Centex Sports Network. We're starting a new platform, Recruit 254. Our mission is to highlight the amazing student athletes of 254. So if you're in the Waco, Killeen, Temple, Mart, Marlin, or any surrounding 254 areas, follow this platform and join the movement. Recruit 254. 254, let's run it up.
My name is Emily Adams. I'm the marketing director for the Texas Asphalt Pavement Association. We are here at our third annual MAPS conference at the Waco Convention Center in beautiful Waco, Texas. I think the event has exceeded all of our expectations. We had an amazing turnout and great sessions and nothing but positive feedback. So this is our first conference in a convention center, and I'm used to working with hotels where there's like one person to talk to for everything. And so at the last minute, we realized we needed audio and video services. And so I contacted Lighthouse Streaming and Audio, and they were very quick to respond. They were able to, even though it was the last minute, they were able to fit us into their schedule, and they provided us with technicians and equipment to record our sessions, and we'll be able to provide the people who are speaking at those sessions with great video of themselves. I would highly recommend them. I highly recommend Lighthouse Streaming and Audio. I had nothing but a pleasant experience, and if we come back to Waco again, which we hope to do, I know I'll be in touch with them.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.
This is why you need Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis brings the realness. Dive into the heart of sports with the most passionate commentary around. From pro to high school, Jalen.
Hello and welcome back into Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis still here. Hour number 2 of the show here today. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us, watching over on YouTube, Centex Sports TV / Centex Sports Network over on YouTube. Also, you can watch this on Facebook. You can always watch and subscribe to our website, centexsportsnetwork.com, where you can get all the action. It's a free subscription on there. It takes you just a couple of seconds to sign up. You'll get an exclusive look at all of our live action here on Centex Sports Network. Once again, that is centexsportsnetwork.com, where you can check us out. Well, just got done wrapping up talking about before we went to break, the Knicks and their blunder yesterday as the Pacers were able to come back in that game. Also talking a little bit about SGA going against Anthony Edwards again tonight. That game scheduled for a 7:30 tip-off. Folks, we got to talk some local sports news here and also got to do some quick takes as we get here in the hour number 2. Joining me here on the show, on the set here for hour number 2 of the show, got a familiar face here to the show and somebody you've seen and heard more than a few times here on Centex Sports Network. Mr. Cedric Eigelhart in the building with us. Ced, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, man? What it do?
Nothing much. Before we go back into some of these local topics, man, the Knicks last night. How do they blow? I believe 15-point lead with a minute and a half left, 10-point lead with 50-something seconds left. Yeah. I mean, how does something like that in the playoffs? It's not like this is a regular season game in October 30th. This is the Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You would have thought that Reggie Miller played still for the Pacers. The way they got into that lead so quickly. But and this is the thing about today's NBA. Really, a 20-point lead is really not something that teams can't overcome. We've seen that out of the Knicks before.
Yes.
But I think that this is the time of year that teams are supposed to step up their play, and their intensity of play. And I think what we're seeing out of Indiana is they've done that since the playoffs started, and they're continuing to build off of that momentum. They keep getting decent contributions from the role players. What was Nesmith?
I
remember when he was in Boston, he couldn't shoot a lick.
Yeah.
And now he's out there, stroking
8 for 9 from 3 last night.
Yeah, just stroking. But I think this is more about the Knicks collapsing and the Pacers just saying, "Hey, listen, let's just keep fighting." We'll just see what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's kind of just one of those. We're not going to stop playing until the buzzer goes off. Let's just see what happens, like you just said. And then 1 3 goes up from Nesmith. Then 2 threes. At one point, he hit 5 threes in a row.
Yeah.
Even when I was watching it, I'm like, man, this is crazy. But no way they're going to let them. Because even when he hit 3 or 4 in a row, they were still down by like 10.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, there's nothing they can do.
And if a guy is on a bend like that, on a tear like that, you got to double him. Just get the ball out of his hands.
I'd at least foul him at this point if he's just going to keep shooting 2 points is less than 3 at this point like this. Let's just foul before he can even get a shot off.
And I expected a better coaching job out of Thibodeau.
Yeah.
In those situations, But we may be looking at a team of destiny here with the Pacers.
I mean, how could you not think that if with now his 3rd game winner, who hits a game winner in every round of the playoffs, and what we saw with Halliburton, and then they still had another chance because his foot was on the line, so they go to overtime. Still wasn't enough to be able to close it out. I said yesterday on the show, I think if the Pacers steal game 1, that they're going to win the series. I don't know that I necessarily feel that way because of the way they had to win game 1, because as much as the Knicks had a blunder, it took some miraculous efforts for Nesmith's not going to go 8 for 9. He's not going to hit 5 threes, and I think it was almost 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He's not going to hit 5 threes in 2 minutes. Again, we're not going to see Halliburton hitting a shot that bounces off the back iron 5 feet in the air and comes back in. Like, it took some miraculous things, so the Pacers still have some things to fix. On the Knicks side, you just have to find a way to close the game. You can't spoil a 43-point game from Brunson going with a game with Cat, who had 35 and 12. You can't spoil a game like that just because of you don't know what to do down the stretch and making turnovers down the stretch. I like you said, I think that's a coaching thing more than almost anybody. You got to find a way to maybe call a timeout, get your team settled.
Yeah, you got to do something. You just can't let it just roll like that.
That was something I haven't really seen before. Halliburton gets another game-winning shot, though, and keeps building this legacy or this revenge tour after being voted the most overrated player by his peers. He's still on his revenge tour. I seen Chuck say yesterday his dad needs to get let back in the building. What you think? Let him back?
Yeah, let him back in.
Okay.
Sure, let him back in. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, Mr. Halliburton, man, if you might get your chance if they're on your side saying to let him back in the building. But
now, don't get me wrong. He was wrong.
For sure.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't.
He missed all of last series. Didn't
right.
get a chance to participate in any of that.
And I think that was more. I think his lapse in judgment was more about him being excited to be able to witness his son in this momentous occasion. So
for sure.
He kind of let his emotions get the best of him.
Yeah, I agree. I think his emotions just got the best of him there, man. Let him back, and like Chuck said yesterday, he's not going to do any of that in New York, so you don't have to worry about anything.
You got to worry about that.
You're not going to make it back to Indiana or wherever you're going back to. You start doing all that in New York. Those fans are still crazy as ever right now. The most silent I probably heard that crowd all year long after Halliburton hit that shot. I mean, you could hear a pin drop on just through the broadcaster's mics. You couldn't hear anything at all after Halliburton hit that shot. But it's setting up to be a really, really fun series. Yesterday, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was named the MVP of the league. Do you think this is a well-deserved MVP for SGA?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me because he's a guy who's you talk about stepping his game up.
Sure.
He's still continuing to develop, and he may have 2 or 3 other more stages of development left in him.
Who knows?
As young as he is.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with SGA. I don't know if. I mean, like you can guys like Giannis, you can put him in a running every year. You know, Joker in a running every year. Embiid when he plays enough games to qualify.
Exactly.
But so I kind of like the fact that now we're talking about some kind of new blood. SGA and Ant-Man getting love. Stuff like that. So I think it's pretty good for the league overall.
No, I agree as well. I think it's well deserved from Shai. He's paid his dues. He got a chance to be at the bottom. This Oklahoma City team 2 years ago was in the lottery, with not having a chance to get anybody. Then he comes back from being right out of the lottery, wins the West. And then the only way you can build on winning the West is you win more games and win the West. Now they get to almost 60 wins, win the West. And he upped his point total again. This is now his 3rd year in a row, averaging 30, but each year his point total has went up and up. So he's definitely well deserving of this award.
And he's really developing as a leader of that team.
Yeah, for sure.
And he understands that I don't have to put up 50 every night for us to have a chance to win this game. He's getting other people involved.
He is. We saw that in that last game. He's getting other people involved. He's breeding that confidence, instilling that confidence into his team, and letting them get open shots. He had 9 assists in their blowout win. And we'll talk a little bit more about this game as we get ready to close the show out. But yeah, this SGA winning the MVP, I think is definitely well deserved.
Yeah, he made me change my whole strategy on prize picks.
Yeah,
because last year, he did all the heavy lifting.
Yes, he did.
But this year he understands that the team is better when I don't have to play like that.
Exactly. When other guys get involved, now they play a little bit harder on defense because they got a couple shots to go in.
Credit. The moves they made, the trade, picking up Caruso.
The Caruso pick is probably the biggest offseason move. I said it earlier this week. Probably the biggest offseason move in the NBA.
Yeah.
When you think about his impact that he's had on his team.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, that was a huge pickup for them. Like I said,
Hardenstein too, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hardenstein, signed Hardenstein.
Yeah.
You got to give credit to Sam Presti, man. I don't know what Stephen A's got this thing he's doing now where he keeps saying, Sam Presti, when are you going to deliver a chip? You've had all these good players. When are you going to deliver a chip? I'm like, man, first off, he can't make somebody make a shot. All he can do is put you in the best situation.
That's it.
And what GM has put their team in a better situation. This is his 3rd time rebuilding his team.
Mm-hmm.
His 3rd time. He built it all the way up with Kevin Durant and them in 2012. Got to the finals, fell short. It's not his fault, like I just said a second ago before we went to break. It's not his fault that they blew a 3-1 lead against the Warriors in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
They could have went to the finals and won it that year when they had KD and Russ.
Sure.
It's not his fault that Paul George got locked up by Joe Ingles after being the runner-up to MVP. He put an MVP candidate out there on the court with Russ, who won the MVP the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
What more can you ask him to do? Now this is his 3rd time rebuilding this team, getting them all the little pieces. People said blow the team up, trade Jalen Williams and get a star, go get this guy. And right now, Oklahoma City looks like they're on the fast track to getting to the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
right
and they still have a ton of draft picks.
I mean,
ton.
I literally think they can't use all of them. I think that
they really do have more than they can use.
They legally cannot use all the draft picks that they have. Some of the drafts, they have like 7 or 8 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't draft 8 guys in one draft.
You can't do that.
So they literally have more picks than they can even do anything with.
But the reason why they stockpiled the picks like that, the way they did, was just in case a marquee player, like for example, for a Giannis situation.
Exactly.
The team still got a year or 2 on his contract, but he says, I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can just give you a ton of picks. This is why the Spurs, in my mind right now, are probably the favorite to get Giannis if Milwaukee moves off of him because they can't just win with him alone.
No.
And there's going to be no Dame next year. Giannis and Kyle Kuzma, they don't scare nobody.
No, not at all.
Even though it's in the East, I mean, they might could get to the play.
Yeah, with the East, they'll probably be a top 5 seed as long as Giannis is out there, really. But they have so many picks. The Spurs have a lot of picks too. man, I would love to see that pairing that Giannis. They would probably have to get off of Stephon Castle, but they got a lot of young players that they can move off and let Milwaukee rebuild with, along with the picks.
Yeah, and the thing about that is Milwaukee doesn't have control of their own first-round pick, I think, for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So the Spurs could give you, like I said, you start with 4 number ones with Giannis, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And then you maybe throw in a Jeremy Sochan. He's a young kid. I don't know if you want to move off of Castle Rookie of the Year.
They're gonna probably make you move off of him.
Yeah, well, I would offer Fox.
So you would offer Fox after just going to get him?
I would offer Fox if it means if this is what it takes for me to get Giannis.
Oh yeah,
okay. I can do Packer because Milwaukee's going to have somebody that halfway decent that they can kind of rebuild around. Because if they move off of Giannis, that's full rebuild mode.
Full and completely and total rebuild, especially in Milwaukee when you know you're not going to get any free agents. You have to have but guys like Sam Presti have set that bar. So there's no longer the excuse of, well, we just can't get any free agents. We just can't. Well, draft right and pick the right guys. SGA wasn't a top 50 player in the NBA when they traded him for Paul George, who at the time was a top 15 to top 10 player in the NBA.
Absolutely.
But they knew how to scout talent. They saw something in SGA when he went from averaging 10 points to next year averaging 20 points. They saw something in that and said, okay, we can do something with this guy.
Yeah.
And then from there, drafting the right piece. They drafted Chet. They drafted Jalen Williams. They drafted all of these guys. Then you make a free agency splash in Isaiah Hartenstein, who not like he's some type of top 5 big man in the league, but he fits that team just right.
Just perfect.
So you got to be able to build it, and they've laid out that blueprint on how to build these teams in a small market.
And it takes more than just acquiring talent.
Yes.
You also have to be willing to give the talent time to develop, especially when you got young kids. And I think this is why this OKC team is going to be a tough knot to untangle, for the next 3-4 seasons.
Yeah.
At least.
At least. Because think about all the draft picks they have. What if they just, one of the years, they see a guy that slips in let's just take Ace Bailey this year. What if he slips and goes to pick 4 or 5? Is whoever's sitting there in number 5 not going to take 3 or 4 first-round picks for the number 5 pick? Because they just got picks. They can do anything with them. They don't need them. No. They don't have to fill a hole. They don't need anything. At this point, if there's a guy that's on the board that's just good, let's just throw some picks at him and just go get him. Same thing with another young player somewhere else in the league that might not be getting a lot of burn. Let's just throw a couple first. Cam Whitmore in Houston who doesn't get a chance to play a lot. Let's just get him a couple first-round picks and let's bring a Cam Whitmore into our system. So I'm like you. This is not only scary for this year, which I have OKC as the favorite to win now that Boston is gone, but probably for the next 2 or 3 because these guys are only getting better. They're all 22, 23 years old.
Yeah, real young. And when you're real young and you get real good, that's a recipe for a dynasty.
Yes, we've just watched this with Golden State. Not comparing Shea to Steph Curry, but I'm saying that
but he's superstar.
Yeah, the superstar player and guys built around him that they drafted. The same thing we saw with them. They were all young. Clay was 25, 26. Draymond was 24, 25 years old when these guys started their dynasty out. So, man, this is Oklahoma City team is going to be fun to watch for a few years going forward. Like I said, Oklahoma City plays Minnesota tonight at 7:30. We'll talk about that one a little bit more in just a second. Want to go over to some local topics here. Talked about it earlier this week. MCC baseball headed out to the Nationals. I think they'll play this weekend. I believe they'll play on Saturday in the first round. MCC softball team fell just short in their first round matchup of the national playoffs. Midway Panthers softball headed out to the regional final today, I believe, so they have a chance to keep their season going. I believe Robinson just lost yesterday as they were going out.
They're playing right now too.
Yeah, they're playing right now. They lost the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, and now they're playing right now as well. Looking at some of these guys here in the Central Texas area that, of course, you got to watch like myself because we got a chance to really cover high school football in this area last year for sure. There's a lot of talent in this area, a lot of guys that can still make a big impact. One of those guys on a team that we talk about a lot is Devontre Kirkland out there at University, the safety who just become a 4-star recruit now. Reported that Baylor's making a pretty heavy push at him right now. They're trying to complete – they're doing exactly what I wanted Baylor to do and what Baylor's been missing for the last few years. They're trying to keep the stars of the city in the city.
Right.
When Baylor was good, the what I would call the Baylor heyday from like 2010 to about 2016, somewhere in that range, all the big name guys from this area were going to Baylor. It really started when Ahmad Dixon went there. I think about Jared Salubi, who was at Waco High. He ended up going to Baylor. They started keeping Andrew Billings, who was in WISD. He went there after he was a 4-star recruit. When they start keeping those local guys in, that's when the team starts to grow. Now you see them making another push at another University Trojan. They already got the verbal commitment from London Smith, who is one of the top recruits in the Central Texas area. Also, Jamarian Vincent at Conley, one of the top recruits in the Central Texas area. He's committed to Baylor right now. Now they're trying to sweep in and get Devontae Kirkland as well. What do you think about Baylor's push on trying to keep this local talent here?
Oh, I love it. And that's one way to keep your fan base energized.
Yes.
Because when they went through that little slump that they went through recently, it almost cost Aranda his job.
Yes.
The people stopped showing up.
They did.
They stopped showing up for the games. But if no other reason, they're going to come and then watch these kids that they've watched them play their whole career. Jamarion Vincent, I saw, got a chance to watch him when they played La Vega.
Yeah.
That guy is the real deal.
Yes. Very electric.
He's I know he plays quarterback. He's just an athlete.
I think they're recruiting him at corner right now. I want to say he's in the ESPN top 300. I think he's top 10 for corners listed in the nation. Right now.
I'm saying, and as good as he was at quarterback, he was the even better corner.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes, a great DB.
Yeah, so I like this this kind of buy local is just kind of what they're trying to do. Yeah.
I love it, man. I think that's what you have to do when you're in a smaller market like Waco and like Baylor kind of is, but you're still playing in a big conference. But you're competing that's the thing about being in Central Texas. If you're Baylor, every direction you're competing with top tier guys. Now the amount of money that SMU is handing out. I just was on here yesterday with Wayne talking about Texas Tech. These dudes are passing out $2 to $3 to $4 million just in the transfer portal in the last couple of months, and they've got a pretty big penny. Reportedly, Micah Hudson is back up at Tech too, supposed to be coming back in that fold as well. We know the money that Texas has spent. We'll talk about them in just a second. Texas Longhorns are spending a lot of money. Then A&M. If you're Baylor, you got to kind of carve out a niche somewhere, and doing that, it's got to be the local talent. You got to be able to keep these guys at home.
Because you can't keep up with these guys with the NIL budget.
No, you can't.
You just can't compete with that.
What you can try to compete with them is the nostalgia of, hey, you get to be a star in the city you grew up in.
Right.
We let guys like Trey Wisner get out of Waco. We let the Kobe Blacks get out of Waco. Corey Black, who just got drafted by the Giants, get out of Waco. That can't keep happening, I think they know.
What's the kid that out of La Vega, signed with Oklahoma State? He just transferred to Memphis.
Pullen. Trent Pullen, got out of Waco. Somebody else. Like they let too much talent. Jelani McDonald, who was at Texas, probably going to start. Get out of Waco. You can't keep letting these guys get out of your city. Right. You got to try to build starting at home. I think the London Smith commitment was huge, because he's been one of the top recruited players in the Central Texas, well, just in Texas in general for the last few years. So keeping him at home is going to be huge for this Baylor squad. Baylor's got some expectations coming in the next year. I talked about it earlier this week on the show. I was looking at their schedule, and I'm looking at Sawyer Robertson and the recognition he's now getting, which is definitely deserved. He's got the highest QBR for any quarterback returning in Power 4 next year with 82.9. So he's got a lot building up on him. CBS is putting him as a top 10 Heisman candidate. Like, he's got a lot that's going with him. Bryson Washington, the season he had last year. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, man, Baylor's got to be competing. We got to be thinking Big 12 championship, at least getting to that game. Baylor cannot come into the season, in my opinion, and just, if we can get another 8 wins, it'll be cool. Yeah. The Big 12 is wide open right now. We don't know who's going to be the next superpower, and you don't want to wait on that superpower to build up, and then there's nothing you can do at that point.
Right.
You can, at this point, all 16 teams in the Big 12 have a chance to become that next superpower, because there isn't that. Arizona State was projected to get last in the Big 12, and they won the Big 12 last year. So it's completely wide open. What do you think about Baylor's going into next year, and really their expectations of what they got to do going into next year?
I mean, there's no reason that their mindset shouldn't be championship or bust.
Yeah.
In that division, and then league conference rather. Because just for the reason you talked about, and plus, like when you saw what Arizona State did.
Yes.
When you saw, I mean, because there was a time last season, we didn't know who was going to win the doggone thing, and that went all the way into the last
probably
month.
Probably the last month or so of the season. We had no idea who was going to Big 12.
Yeah. So the expectations should be high. I would say they should be trying to win double-digit games this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Double-digit wins. So, they got hot at the end last year, saved Aranda's job. You don't want to be put in that situation again.
No, you do not. You do not want to get in that situation because you don't know how it's going to turn. A lot of those games you won at the end, or maybe that one play that helped you get out of that, it goes the other way. Instead of being 8-5, maybe you're looking at 5-8, and you're looking at 5-8. We're looking at a different head coach, in my opinion, of Baylor football.
Oh yeah, you have
Aranda definitely. I don't want to just keep saying saved the job, but that's what it was. He saved the job last year.
That's exactly what it was.
They started off 2-4, and I had wrote them off. I went to out of the first 6 games, I went to at least 3 or 4 of them. I was like, man, I'm not gonna keep coming. I'm an actual Baylor fan. I don't want to keep coming back and watching them lose. And then they end up winning their last 6 games of the season, completely turning the season around and finishing 5th in the conference. Now it's time to build on that. That can't just be the end-all, be-all, because, yes, you did get to that Big 12 championship in your first year of being the coach, David Aranda, but all those guys were recruited by Matt Rule. It's not like those were all his guys. Those are all Matt Rule guys. And now since you've had your guys.
They pretty much all gone, too.
Yeah, all those guys, all those Matt Rule guys are gone. Yeah. Now this is your guys. What is your legacy going to be here at Baylor? How are you going to build on it? I think he's the guy for the job. It's just going out there actually executing and doing it. But with this latest recruitment news, man, I mean, it's refreshing, and it gives you more hope for this Baylor program moving forward. I want to jump into some quick takes here. The team down the street from Baylor, where we're talking about Baylor, Texas Longhorns, talked about it yesterday on here with Wayne, reportedly spending $35 to $40 million on this roster. We watched Ohio State lay out the blueprint of buy a roster, buy a championship. They did it last year. Texas is taking this and gone double with it. They're saying we're putting up $40 million. Last year, it's reported that Ohio State had a $20 to $25 million roster. But now they got reported a $40 million roster. Yeah. Obviously, Arch Manning, a big part of that. Colin Simmons, I believe, a big part of that. Anthony Hill. They got 5 stars everywhere, and these guys are going to be good because of that. Is this now creating the expectation of championship or bust down there at the 40 acres in Austin?
It does to me.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're going off of the Ohio State model. One thing about it clearly works. They basically ran Kyle McCord off.
Yeah, they did.
So they could pay Will Howard. And Kyle McCord, he has had a monster season.
Yes, he did.
I think UT should be very, very upset if they lose even 2 games. And I know that in the SEC, we're arguably the best conference in the college football conference in the nation. When you're investing that kind of money in roster players, you expect anybody who's getting a piece of that little pie is gonna be expected to start, and it's gonna be expected to play at a high level.
At a very high level. I agree. I think this championship is a bust for Texas. It's been look how they were so bad that we got enamored with how good they started to re-get that we kind of took expectations off of them of, hey, this is a championship program. They were bad for about a decade. So when Quinn Ewers and those guys come in, then they win 9 games, like, man, this is good. Then they win 11 games, like, oh, this is really good. Then they get to the playoffs, and it's like, this is really good. Well, it's time to close the deal now. If you're Texas, and especially when you're dishing out this much money, Steve Sarkisian, one of the highest paid coaches in college football now since he restructured his deal. Right. You got Arch Manning, who's the number 1 player coming out in this class. A lot of people think he could be the number 1 quarterback coming out this year in the draft. It's a lot of expectation that goes along with that. So I think they got to go out and execute on that to be able to do that. Fox Sports put out a list of their top 5 quarterbacks coming into next year. Arch Manning was number 2. And this goes along with the pressure I was talking about. There's a lot of pressure on Arch Manning. There's a lot of pressure on this Texas Longhorns team. Do you think they're kind of overdoing? Because I think it's kind of getting to a point they're overdoing the hype a little bit with Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning is going to be a really, really good quarterback. But to say he's the second best quarterback coming into next year over guys like, even a Drew Aller who came in last year and got all the way to the playoffs, Kevin Jennings, who got to the playoffs at SMU, Sam Levitt, who got to the playoffs at Arizona State. I have Cade Klubnik as number one. That's who they had as their number one. That's what I have as my number one coming back too. Do you think it's kind of getting overinflated a little bit with Arch Manning and this hype coming in for next year?
I think the hype is warranted, and not just are you talking about just as Arch Manning as a talent?
Yes.
I don't see any reason why Arch can't put up a good year, because he's gonna be surrounded with weapons.
Yeah, I see him having a great year for sure.
So I don't think the hype is overdue. It kind of calmed down a little bit, because people were expecting him to come right in and start as a freshman and all that stuff. And Sarkisian kind of helped to turn that down by playing Ewers as much as he did. So I have a lot of expectations out of Arch Manning. I don't see any reason why Arch Manning couldn't finish the season as a finalist for top quarterback in the country.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be up there for top quarterback. Like you said, this team, I expect all the expectations that they have of Texas. I expect those same things. I expect Texas to be a top team in the nation. I expect them to compete for a national championship. Only way you can do that is if you have good quarterback play. So I expect Arch Manning to come out here and play great. Depending on who comes out next year, I don't know if he'll be that number one quarterback take. I think Cade Klubnik will probably be that number one quarterback taken, depending on how his season comes out, depending on how these two shake out this season. If Cade Klubnik plays like he did last year, he'll be the number one pick. If Arch Manning lives up to the hype that they're putting up for him, he's for sure to be the number one pick going into next year. So it's going to make for a really fun college football season. One of the other big colleges here, just outside of the Central Texas area, Texas A&M Aggies. Their quarterback, Marcel Reed, who started as a freshman last year, definitely has some work to do. But he starts to cash in a little bit as he gets signed a new NIL deal with the private jet company ENG Aviation Group. He joins Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, and Carson Becks as the only college athletes to have a private jet deal.
Wow.
These deals are getting pretty crazy for these kids. But Marcel Reed, a guy that came in and won that starting job last year after I think he split time with Connor Wigman. I want to say Wigman got hurt a little bit, and then after that,
when he went down and missed some time, and Reed just took advantage of it.
Once Reed came in, he didn't really get that spot back at all. What do you think about Marcel Reed cashing in on this big time NIL deal, joining some elite company there? If you're talking about the quarterbacks, at least from last year, and Jackson Dart and Quentin Ewers, all guys that are now in the NFL.
Right. Yeah. You're never gonna hear me hate on somebody else's money.
Hey,
I'm glad. I'm glad to see the kids getting the bags nowadays. But that's a pretty exclusive company to be in. I think he gets use of a private jet, doesn't he?
I think it was something when I was reading it. There's some type of use he can use it to go to different places or something like that. And
can you imagine just flying all your
this
family?
This kid is like 20.
Yeah,
he was a freshman last year.
Yeah.
And now whenever your family wants to come with you guys when you got to go play Alabama, we're just going to take the jet. We're not going to fly with y'all, coach.
Yeah.
We'll just take
we'll meet y'all there.
We'll meet you there out there on the field. Get time for warm-up. So, shout out Marcel Reed. This is an interesting season for me for the Aggies. The Aggies were a team last year that, once again, a team that kind of doesn't live up to expectations. But last year, they started off, I want to say, 9-1.
Yeah.
And everybody looks up and like, wait a second, we can do something. We can win the SEC. They were number one team in the SEC at one point for a couple of weeks.
We
can win the SEC. They did not close the season out strong. I know it was Mike Elko, I believe, his first year at A&M, so people were giving him some grace. But there's got to be some type of expectation for A&M because they've got a high-paid roster, obviously, like a lot of these guys. They have a lot of NIL money down there.
Mm-hmm.
But A&M hasn't won anything since they've been in the SEC. They were the first of this bunch out of Oklahoma and Texas and all these guys to go join the SEC. They were the first of the bunch to go out there and do that and finally branch out of that Big 12. Is there some expectation coming in for the Aggies this season to be able to do something?
There should be. There's no reason to think that they couldn't build on that. Like I say, if they would have closed out the season, they would have won the SEC. But I think when they first moved to the SEC, I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're not even taking care of business,
in the Big 12.
But it was more, for them, it was more about getting away from Texas.
Yes.
Out of the shadow of the Longhorns, and try to, raise their own prestige a little bit. And then they look up and here's Texas coming back in there too. So I don't know how successful that was, but I definitely have the Aggies as a favorite to win the SEC this year for sure.
Yeah, I think, and I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, they've got some games, but these are all games that are winnable. Same like I said with Baylor when we were talking about Baylor. These are winnable games. I mean, you got a game against Notre Dame. We don't know exactly what Notre Dame is going to be. You've got to come out and expect to try to win games like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you play in the Auburn, when you get Auburn, Mississippi State, and all these guys in the same year, you got to say, okay, we got to clean up there. Florida, another one of those teams is going to be right there as far as I think having a chance to win that SEC, depending on the play of DJ Lagway. If he does what I believe he can do, another kid that I was mad that got outside of Texas, I'm like, how did A&M or Texas or nobody got this kid?
Yeah.
He goes all the way to Florida, but they've got a lot of expectations. They got Missouri, LSU, Arkansas, South Carolina, and then obviously they'll close the season out of Texas. I think they got to have some expectations, and it might just be me because I'm not a fan of the Aggies. But I feel like every year they just get to go along and just we get 8 or 9 wins, and then before the season starts, they get some recruits and they get them ranked in the top 10 again.
Yeah.
Then they go out there and win 7 or 8 games again. Like eventually the cycle's got to stop, in my opinion.
And they're always so underwhelming.
Yes,
every
single year.
It's like you really can't depend on them to do much. A 9-win season was a cause for excitement.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, I know it was Elko's first year last year, so he did get some grace, but at some point in time, you really got to start winning.
Yeah, at some point in time, you got to be able to cash in on doing this. I mean, that was Nick Scorton and those guys. Their class coming out was like the highest recruited class in Texas A&M history.
Yeah,
I want to say they got 4 guys in the top 10 in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this is crazy. Eventually, this has got to be it. Last time I remember seeing something like that was when Jameis Winston and those guys went to Florida State about a decade ago. I remember because they had Mario Williams. He was the number 1 player in Texas, and they got him. And then they got Jameis. He's the number 1 quarterback in the nation and all that. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this will turn into something. A couple years later, they win a national championship.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, they get the highest one. I mean, that was one of the highest recruited class rankings I've seen almost by anybody. You get 4 guys in the top 10.
Yeah.
Alabama's not doing that.
Yeah.
When they were at their top, they're not getting the 4 guys in the top 10. They might get 10 in the top 30.
Yeah.
But they have 4 in the top 10. Half of those guys ended up transferring. We saw Evan Stewart go have success at Oregon. All these guys that ended up leaving. So, I mean, they've got to have some type of expectation coming into the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's one thing to bring in a class like that, but now with this transfer portal stuff, now you got to find a way to hang on to them.
Yes.
And the best chance you have in retaining these guys is winning a bunch of games.
Yes, that's the best chance you have. You got to go out there and win some games, because if not, you're going to see more guys like Evan Stewart and all these guys leave off, go somewhere else. It's too tough to keep guys in this NIL era right now. Now, A&M's got plenty of money. They're not worried about that part. I think they will back up the Brinks truck if the opportunity is presented itself.
Oh, yeah.
But they got to be able to go out here and close out some wins. Marcel Reed, he played good last year, but he's got to take that next step if A&M wants to even be competitive in this SEC.
I agree.
Because you're not going to catch everybody off guard like you did last year.
Yeah.
This year people are going to be waiting on
you. Yeah, they waiting on you. I wish you would come break into this window.
Exactly,
I'm sitting on the couch with my gun, just waiting on you to come through the window. Yeah,
I don't see that for them. So A&M's got some expectations. Want to switch over and talk about a little bit of NFL here while we're getting near the end of the show. CeeDee Lamb was asked about his new addition and George Pickens coming out to the Dallas Cowboys. He said, we now have 2 number 1s. He said there's not going to be a number 1 and a number 2 here. We have 2 number 1s. You're going to look at this side, you'll see a 1. You'll look at that side and see a number 1. What do you think about what CD said about them both being number 1s, and then the expectation for Dallas's offense this year with both of those guys coming out there?
Yeah, that was definitely the right thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if he necessarily believes that, but George Pickens needs to hear these type things being said about him by his teammates. Mm-hmm. Because we know that he's not the most stable guy in the world.
Yeah,
he's emotionally.
Exactly.
But talent wise, he definitely one of the most talented receivers in the league, especially as young as he is.
Mm-hmm.
Huge catch radius.
Yep.
I don't know if he always played as hard as he should. I mean, there were times in Pittsburgh over his career in Pittsburgh, he just kind of just dialed out on you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can keep him engaged. And the best way to keep him engaged is give him the ball. Give him targets.
Yeah.
He gonna need targets. Yeah.
If this offense is gonna stay similar with Brian Schottenheimer now coming in since he was the offensive coordinator. I don't know what that means or how you're the offensive coordinator if you don't call the plays and the coach called them. But whatever. He was the offensive something last year. If this system's going to stay more the same, now instead of Jalen Tolbert and Brandon Cook getting those targets, it's George Pickens. And just with that alone, I think that automatically upgrades offense. Like you said, George Pickens is one of the most talented receivers in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, can they keep him engaged? There's lots of distractions in Dallas. There's lots of distractions in Dallas. One of them going to be in the guy that signed your checks. He's going to come out and have a press conference about you if you drop a pass in the game right after. So there's a lot to go with that.
And he don't mind hurting your feelings.
Not even a little bit.
In public.
Not even a little bit. He does not mind that at all. He loves his guys, but he loves his guys. They didn't draft George Pickens. So let's hear. And this is your contract year. They haven't even re-signed him. He's on a 1-year prove-it deal right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to have to do if he wants to get that big wide receiver money.
Yes.
He's going to have to prove it this year.
Yeah.
And I think he'll have an opportunity to do that because, the Cowboy running back room is not, it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's
upgradable from last year.
Yeah, it's better than it was last year.
But that was also the worst in the league.
So, so as long as Dak stays healthy, and I think that the key to how this offense is going to look, they got to give Dak time to look downfield.
Yes.
And there's still some holes on that offensive line. I thought they would have done a little bit more, but when you got as many holes as they had coming out of free agency and into the draft, they weren't going to be able to fill them all in. Yeah,
it's going to depend. I mean, guys are going to have to step up and play. Tyler Guyton, they drafted you in the first round last year. You got benched at the end of the year. He's got to step up and play. If not, that's going to be an issue for him. They have to find some type of way to establish the run game. I know that their running game is better, going to be better than it was last year, but that's being the skinniest kid at fat camp. At this point, you were the last place rushing team in the NFL.
Right.
So yeah, it's better, but better like what, 26?
Yeah.
Is that good enough to win anything?
No place to go but up, really.
Yeah, there is nowhere you can go but up from that point. So they're going to have to find a way to establish a running game. Like I said before, I think this all hinges on Javonte Williams, in my opinion. He's the only guy I've seen be a true lead back out of that running back room. Like you said with Miles Sanders, he had his moments. But with that offensive line that the Eagles had especially when he was there, and they still had guys like Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelsey and those guys. Of course you can run behind these guys, but he's going to have to get some snaps. Javonte Williams is really the only proven guy. Jaden Blue, we don't know. He's a rookie. Yeah. Can he provide some spark? I think so, but we don't know until he's a rookie.
I think Jaden Blue is going to get opportunities because the one knock on Javonte Williams is he can't stay healthy.
No. He's played very few games in the last 2 years.
We're still. I remember when they drafted him. When Denver drafted him, I was like, he was one of the few rookies that I took on my fantasy team. I was like, this guy gonna be good, And then he just never reached. I mean, we're still waiting for him to be good.
His rookie year, he had like an 8 or 9 game stretch where he was at 80 to about 100 yards each and every time. Got hurt at the end of that year. Since then, haven't been able to stay healthy. He hadn't finished the year healthy since that time. So a lot of expectations still to go right now. CD upping his new teammate in George Pickens. One of the other teams are talking about big free agent splashes or money signings. Brock Purdy finally gets that deal that we've been talking about for a while now. Gets that deal, $245 million over the next 5 years. Does this derail the progression of the San Francisco 49ers? Because that's kind of where I'm at with it at this point.
It does because of the money. Now I was watching it, looking into it this morning. San Fran can actually move off of that deal after 2 years. So and then all he'll get is the 55 guaranteed. But that's 2 years from now. And I think if the way they're going right now, I think the window's already closed. Me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I heard people say, "Is it closing?" I think it's already closed.
It might be. It might be because last year we got to take a real look, in my opinion, at what is Brock Purdy. There's no McCaffrey out here. Ayuk tore his ACL. No Debo. No Kittle. And what we saw is the 49ers get last place in the NFC West. So, I mean, to reward that with $255 million, I understand that the year before that he was in the Super Bowl. Yeah. But we're not going to act like this wasn't I want to say a super team because there's really no super teams in the NFL. I'm not going to act like this wasn't the most talented roster in the NFL when he went to the Super Bowl. And they still lost to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
So with that being the ceiling, now with you paying him, clearly you can't be as talented as you were before. Trent Williams is on the back end of his career. He's probably got about a year If
If
left
that,
in the tank, we have no idea what we'll get out of Christian McCaffrey because we watched him be hurt for the first 2 or 3 years of his career.
Right.
Then we watched him be healthy for a couple of years. Now he's been hurt again all last year. Is he going to repeat the same process of being hurt again? So we don't know what we're going to get out of him. Brandon Ayuk's coming off a torn ACL, and he's overpaid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the small decisions that you see in the NFL that can really take a team out of having that window being closed. And I think that Brock Purdy move, that Brandon Ayuk move, I think it might just be a little bit too much for the 49ers to overcome at this point.
It seemed like it wasn't money that was well spent. I agree with you on that. But what Brock Purdy is, legitimately, top 15, maybe borderline top 10, maybe he's number 10.
He just came out and said a couple hours ago, actually, while they were talking about his contract, he said, I think for sure I'm a top 10 QB, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what he's supposed to say.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to have a private conversation with Brock Purdy, and if he were to be totally honest with you during this conversation, and you ask him about his contract, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I got him. I got over. I
called Kirk Cousins' agent, and we got the deal done. And I got 265 M's out of San Francisco. I mean, that's definitely shout out to him. I think it's one of the better sports stories in sports. You go from Mr. Irrelevant to 265 million.
Oh, great story. Absolutely.
One of the best stories. But if I'm a 49ers fan, do I want that to be my story for the next couple of seasons going into the season? I don't know. Because with the way the quarterbacks are going, and just the NFC alone, quarterbacks are going at a premium.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the great quarterbacks in the NFL are in the AFC. So in the NFC, when you have a good quarterback, a la Jalen Hurts, a la a Jared Goff that can win you game, you're going to be right there at the top of the NFC.
Right.
So you can't afford to go in there saying, I mean, is Brock Purdy a top 5 quarterback in the NFC?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
So with going into that, our quarterback's not even top 5. Now, how does our roster shake up against everybody? Because there's no more Dre Greenlaw. There's no more Debo Samuel. There's no more Eric Armstead. A lot of those names that we saw. Yeah, Tufonga is gone. Travarius Ward is gone. These were Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
All pro-level guys that are all no longer on the 49ers. And what you do still have is your guy that you picked last in the draft that outplayed his contract, but can he outplay everybody else now? Can he help his other guys get better? There's going to be a very young receiving room as opposed to they had a veteran receiving room when he first started. There's going to be a young running back room as opposed to being McCaffrey back there.
And let's not forget the fact that this wasn't a deal they had to do.
No.
They still had another year left on his rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
Which was saving them a bunch of money.
Yep.
And then now if he goes out there and play at a high level, then we'll talk extension.
Yeah.
After the season's over with. But I think by signing it when they did, I think they really just kind of hamstrung themselves financially because now even if there's somebody available that can come in and help them, as a starter, you can't afford them.
Yeah, exactly. What if the next big disgruntled receiver wants to get out of wherever? Can you go get them when you gave an Ayuk $40 million a year?
Yeah.
When you gave Brock Purdy $50 to $60 million every single year? It's going to be tough for them to get over that hump moving forward. If you're not, like I said, you're not even considered a top 5 guy in your conference at your position, it's uphill sledding from there with the emergence now of other guys within your division. Looking at the Rams, I don't think they're getting worse. They got Devontae Adams. I think that's going to be sneakily one of the best receiver offseason moves in the entire league. Everybody, Devontae Adams, he's washed. Did you see him in New York? Okay, everybody looked terrible in New York last year. You put him now with an extremely accurate quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who we just watched have another great season again last year. That's going to be tough. They're in your division. Arizona's getting better every year. They were probably in my top 5 of best draft classes this last draft with the draft that they just had.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that you got to keep an eye on. I fully expect them to make a wild card.
Yeah, exactly. Because and then if it comes down to it, just the quarterback play, I like Kyler Murray more than I like Brock Purdy.
I do too.
So I'm at this point, I think Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy are right there as far as with each other in Seattle. And I, of course, like Matthew Stafford better than all of them.
Oh, sure.
So now you're the 3rd or 4th best quarterback
in your division.
In your division before we even get to talking about conference.
Right.
So, I mean, man, they put themselves in kind of a little bit of a hole. And just in my opinion, we won't know until the season plays out if this will be a deal or not. But just looking at it right now, the 49ers could be in a little bit of trouble. Want to look at a couple of these NFL teams as we're getting into the NFL offseason, OTAs are starting to start, so everybody's getting that itch again for football. We're starting to overanalyze these different guys and saying who we think is going to be what moving forward. I want to talk about a couple of these teams going into next year that I think are going to have an interesting storyline. First one being the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are a team that I've said already I'm close to picking as I think they could upset Kansas City as far as finally breaking that streak of them winning the AFC West for, I want to say, 8 years in a row now that has been for Kansas City to win in the West. Now, I know Kansas City's coming off a 15-2 season. They're coming off another Super Bowl appearance. But I love everything Denver did in the offseason so far moving forward, especially in the draft. I think they got some really, really great value within that draft. Getting Jahdae Barron in the first round to match up with Patrick Surtain Jr., who just won Defensive Player of the Year. Getting R.J. Harvey out of UCF, that was one of the best running backs coming out in this draft class. Getting another big receiver in Pat Bryant to go along with Cortland Sutton on the other side, not giving you a lot of size for Bo Nix out there as well. So I really like what these guys did and what they did in the draft, plus the offseason that they had, plus the way they closed out the season.
Right.
What are the expectations for Denver coming in? Because they're in the AFC West, which a lot of people think is the best division in football.
I wouldn't argue with that. You can make a case for that. I think this is a year, like if there's such a real thing as Sean Payton magic, this is a year to see it because now there's very few holes in their roster. And Kansas City, they didn't dominate last year. So, we're starting to see little cracks in the armor. They won a bunch of games, about single digits.
Yep.
So teams are gaining on KC. And I think Denver, along with the Chargers, I think they have a legitimate opportunity to win that division. Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why I picked Denver. We haven't made our actual predictions yet, but why I have Denver right up there at the top of that division because Kansas City's got to play Denver twice and they got to play the Chargers twice.
Yep.
Chargers are no slouch whatsoever.
No, sir.
They won 11 games on a year that a lot of people thought they were going to win 6 or 7 because it was Jim Harbaugh's first year. But they won 11. Now they go out, have another team that had a really good offseason. They go out there and get a Najee Harris. They get Omari and Hampton in that first round to shore up that running game. They get them some more help at receiver to go along with Lad McConkey. So that division is going to be tough, and I can't wait to be able to watch.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be real fun to watch.
How that division shakes out. Probably the best division, right up there for best division in football. NFC North is in that competition as well. NFC East is in that competition as well. So they're right up there. An NFC North team, the Minnesota Vikings. They come off of a historical year. They go 14-3. They lose in the very first round of the playoffs, so it kind of diminished the light. But that was, if you're a Minnesota fan, that's probably the best season you've had since, I think they won 13 games when they had Brett Favre in 2011 or 12, somewhere around in there. It's the best season by far you've had since that time. So going into next year, Sam Darnold's gone. He's in Seattle now. Now J.J. McCarthy is actually going to have to come out here and prove it. Last year, did not play at all, but that also ripped all expectations away from them. Now, you're coming off 14 wins. We're expecting you to come out and win some games. We're expecting you guys to come out and do something. What do you see this Minnesota Vikings team doing?
Well, it's all going to come down to whether or not J.J. McCarthy can play because we don't know if he can play. We haven't seen him play. So if he can play, because he's gonna look like a rookie. That's basically what he is.
Yeah.
We know a quarterback is probably the hardest position for you to come out and play as a rookie. Play at a high level. This is why what Jaden Daniels did, what made it so phenomenal.
Exactly.
This is why what C.J. Stroud did. Rookie quarterbacks don't play like this.
No,
not in this league. And I'm not saying he has to play like that, but he can't be a turnover machine out there.
Exactly.
He's got to know what he's looking at. And if you don't think that defensive coordinators are ready to cook something up for this kid.
For a rookie. You start rubbing your hands together when they start getting a rookie quarterback.
They can't wait.
They ain't played football in 2 years.
Yeah.
He hasn't played since they won in Michigan. He hasn't played football in 2 years. And coming out of that, I think he's got to be doing – they have to try to create the same blueprint that we watched Sean Payton give to Bo Nix last year. They won games last year where Bo Nix had 70 yards passing.
Yeah.
70 yards.
Yeah, we're not going to ask you to do a whole lot. Just don't turn the ball over.
Exactly. That was the best thing about Bo Nix is he wasn't turning that football over.
Right.
Once he was turning that football over, those are the games that they lost. But the games where he didn't, they won majority of those games.
Yeah.
This Vikings defense is going to be good once again, being led by Brian Flores again. this offense, I think Kevin O'Connell can coach, especially coach
I
offense.
agree.
We've seen Kirk Cousins have great years with him. We've
Yeah.
seen Sam Darnold have great years with him.
Yeah.
Now, can J.J. McCarthy be the next? I think so if they tailor the offense the right way.
Yeah, he's definitely got the right head coach.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And then, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have Justin Jefferson as your number one receiver,
Yeah.
and Jordan Addison as your number two receiver, and T.J. Hockenson as your tight end. So they're built him around, or what's built around him is built for success, but he's just got to be able to go out there and do it. One of the teams you just kind of touched on them a little bit, the Washington Commanders. Just like the Minnesota Vikings, nobody expected anything from them, but they had a great year. For them, they get all the way to the NFC Championship. It's hard to have any expectations above that for such a young team to say, okay, well, if we got the NFC Championship, we got to get to the Super Bowl next year. I think that's kind of a lot to put on a second-year quarterback and a second-year head coach in this regime now with Dan Quinn. What do we expect out of Jaden Daniels and these Commanders coming into next year?
Well, from a statistical standpoint, it's going to be hard for him to improve his numbers.
Yes.
I mean, his season was so phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still not the best team in their division.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still Philadelphia. Washington is a team, it's kind of like if they win 9, I can see them winning 9 games and be like, I can see them winning 13 games, and anywhere in between. I really don't know. I don't have a good read on this team.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they did lose some free agents. So you got that. That's always something for me to get these guys to gel and mesh and play together.
Yeah.
But the Commanders are definitely a team that I'm intrigued by.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I'm interested to see because, I mean, it's hard to top, like you said, what you put out last year for Jaden Daniels, for the Commanders, and just their whole regime. They gave him some more help. I think Zach Ertz is coming back for another year. They go and get Deebo Samuel, all of these different things. But within this division, Dallas is going to be trying to get back in the playoffs. They missed the playoffs last year. They're trying to get back in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Giants are trying to be anything better than what they were last year.
No, which shouldn't be that hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. You went 3-14 last year. It shouldn't be that tough with all the 10 quarterbacks that y'all signed to go out there and be able to win some games. And then you got the Super Bowl chance within your division. So I'm interested to see how this is going to shake out for the Commanders going in, because you don't want to get into too much of a sophomore slump to where you're not even in the running for the playoffs or anything like that.
Right.
I can see this team winning 9 to 10 games somewhere within there, trying to sneak into that last wild card spot, because they've got to solidify a team identity. Last year, they were really rolling off Jaden McDaniels' magic. Now we've got to be able to dial this in and really have an identity as a team moving forward.
And I think Daniel Quinn wants their identity to be defense.
Yes, for sure.
Sure. That's his background. That's where he thrives.
He built the Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
We watched him what he was able to do in Dallas. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think he's got to come in, and defense is where they got to be able to hang their hard hat on. Last team, we talked about 3 successful teams. Last team I want to talk about is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because 4-13, not going to have much of a worse season than that going in. But now you really start to rake in the pressure of, okay, well, Trevor Lawrence, we did give you all this money. All right, we got a new coach now. We can't blame it on Doug Peterson anymore. We got you even more weapons. We went and got Travis Hunter, and we just had one of the best receivers in the league last year as a rookie in Brian Thomas.
Right.
So we need you to be able to cash in on this. We drafted Trayvon Walker number 1 overall a couple years ago off the edge. Josh Allen Hines has been playing at a high level off the edge. We got to cash in on some of this now. What are the expectations for a Jacksonville team that couldn't even win a porous AFC South last year?
Yeah. I fully expect Jacksonville to be in the running for the AFC South.
Yeah,
there's no reason they shouldn't be. Tennessee is still beatable. The Colts look like they might still be a little bit beatable. Although I fully expect Daniel Jones to be a candidate for a comeback player of the year.
I'm telling y'all, Anthony Richardson is not going to play.
No, he's not going to play.
I think Daniel Jones is going to be their quarterback.
Yeah. Daniel Jones is going to play. He's going to start. And like I say, but Jacksonville, they're really out of excuses.
They are.
The only thing the only way that you could accept a 6-win season out of Jacksonville this year is if they get hit with the injury bug.
Exactly.
Because there's no reason why they shouldn't win 9 games this year.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
And 9 games would be enough to win the South.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Houston won it last year with 10.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 9 and 10 wins, you're right there as far as in the top of the running to be able to win that division. I'm like you, though. You're out of excuses. Trevor Lawrence especially.
Especially Trevor Lawrence.
He's gotten a lot of excuses over the years. I wouldn't go as far as I had a debate with Rocky a couple months ago on here. He was talking about they should trade and get Cam Ward instead and get off Trevor Lawrence. I wouldn't be ready to just move off of him, but he has gotten a lot of excuses. His first year was with Urban Meyer, which was just a complete disaster, so they gave him excuses.
Dumpster fire there.
The next year they get to the playoffs and they beat the Chargers after being down 27-3, but you were down 27-3 in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And then you lose in the very next round. So I think the excuses are starting to run out here for Trevor Lawrence. What are we going to do? How are we going to produce? And how are we going to get wins, especially with us giving you $60 million a year?
Exactly.
We need to see some type of wins coming out of that. So it's a lot of good teams to keep an eye on. We'll be covering the NFL. We'll be covering all football this whole summer as we just did high school, college, and NFL going into this summer. While we're pretty almost out of time here, want to touch on this game here tonight, Minnesota versus Oklahoma City. What does Minnesota have to do to, at this point, just make this competitive? Because you're coming off getting whooped by about 30 points almost in the last game. Anthony Edwards went out with an injury. Julius Randle played good, and you still lost by 30 points.
Yeah. How
How does Minnesota regroup and just say, hey, we have to completely flush out game one and come back and try to pick up a game here in game two?
Yeah, as I was watching that game, when Oklahoma went up, I think they were up by 20, but it was still like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I texted a friend of mine. I said, hey, 20-point lead in the NBA, you can walk that down.
Yeah.
And then, OKC just kicked into another gear.
Yes.
I think this is I know it's early to say this, but I think this is a must-win game for Minnesota.
I do too.
Because if they go back home and they're down 0-2, especially if they lose in the same fashion, that's tough. That's mentally tough.
Exactly.
It's like, man, what do we got to do? We're not even in the game.
Yeah.
Definitely, Minnesota has to win this game tonight. They got to find a way to win this game. Their perimeter defense, which is generally, I thought that was the main reason why I had them as a favorite. But it wasn't there. And I say this all the time. Defense in the NBA is just about hustle. It's about effort.
It is.
And they just didn't put up an effort. Obviously, Julius Randle did what he's supposed to do, but that's not gonna be unless he goes for 60. That's not gonna be enough to keep the game competitive.
Yeah, they got to be able to do some more things. Yes, Randall did get off and do what he's supposed to do. He finished with 28 points, but he had 20 in the first half.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City came out like hungry dogs in that second half. Every time Randall even thought about putting the ball on the ground to dribble, it was 2 or 3 guys around him.
Yeah.
It's got to be it comes down to one person. It's going to come down to Anthony Edwards. I know he twisted his ankle or all this stuff. Whatever the reason is, he's got to be able to go out and get those 30 and 40-point games for them to have a chance. This is not the Warriors without Steph Curry that you just got done playing. This isn't the Rockets out there playing a 6'6" guy at center. Like, you're going to have to – the Lakers playing a 6'6" guy at center. You're going to have to come out here and actually go and get that 30 and 40 points just to have a chance in this series. Because if Randall, who's been playing like their best player since last series, really, if he's coming out and giving you 38 and 8 and then you lose by 30 – you got to start looking around
you just wipe that whole effort.
We got to do something different in this game. I think they got to carve out some kind of way, find out a role to carve out for Rudy Gobert. You can't just have a guy out there that big just not play and then get killed on the rebounds and get killed on the boards. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if he's not in there to at least give me rebounding, why is he even in there?
Yeah, there's something he's got to be able to do.
And they're going to have to find a way to get Jaden McDaniels and Nas Reed going. Because when they played their best this season, and I'm talking about the T-Wolves as a team, these guys were major contributors.
Yes.
Offensively, the Ant-Man didn't have to necessarily carry the load. But I'm like you, he's going to have to be in full attack mode. His goal should be to try to at least put 40 up tonight.
Yeah, that has to be a goal in your mind. Like, I'm not leaving unless I get 40 points out of this game. There were some reports that, his teammates were saying he was a little bit ticked off and pissed off after game one, and they said he's bringing that energy to the game tonight. Well, we're going to see. Yeah. Because this is the team you're going to do it against. This Oklahoma City is not backing down from anybody because their main thing is they hang their hat on defense. Yeah, Shea can go get you 30. Yeah, Chet is talented. Jalen Williams is talented. But everyone out here is going to try to stop you from scoring. So with that mentality, Ant's got to come out here and fully attack, be in attack mode. And you said it perfectly. Jaden McDaniels and Nas Reed. Nas Reed, you were the 6th man of the year last year. Yeah. You were 1 for 11 in game one. That's a big reason why they lost. They got to get off that three-point line. I think DiVincenzo was 3 for 8. DiVincenzo took the most shots on the Timberwolves in game one. Wow. He took 14 shots. Yeah. that can never have. This is the Western Conference Finals. Your 5th, 6th, 7th option cannot be the guy taking the most shots.
Well,
and they were all threes.
Yeah, and a lot of that was some of that was garbage time.
Yes, it
but,
was.
But the fact that and this is another thing. This is what I don't like about Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And I know just about you can say this about every team in the league. But they do become reliant on the three instead of trying to get something going to the hole.
They do
because they're athletic enough. They can get to the rack. But yeah, they rather just hang out behind that 3-point line and then settle with the results. So yeah, they're gonna have to do more. Drive and kick stuff. If you're gonna shoot 2 or 3, that's fine. At least start it with a drive.
Yeah.
Okay. But don't just bring the ball down and then just pull one. You know what I mean?
You got to really get some type of offense going. I've been saying it for a couple years. I really don't know why Mike Conley's out there if he's not initiating offense or doing something that the point guard's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's a good question.
when you just out there getting 25, 30 minutes and you lead a game with 3 points, 2 assists,
and
3 fouls.
This is the other adjustment that needs to be made. He needs to be initiating offense. He needs to be bringing the ball up so Ant-Man can do Ant-Man stuff.
Exactly.
Because
put him in positions to score, not just throwing the ball and say, hey, get us a bucket. Put Ant in a position to score.
Yep.
That's what the point guard is supposed to be able to do. So they've got to come out and do that tonight. I'm agreeing with you 100%. This is a must-win game because if you will go down 0-2 and it's a blowout, you're on the verge of getting swept. This is no longer about, and we win the series. You might get swept if you go down 0-2 and get blown out both these games. Because Oklahoma City can travel. Their defense travels.
Absolutely.
They'll travel right to they'll travel right to Minnesota and be able to get a win.
Yeah, you don't win 60 games without winning a bunch of road games.
Exactly. A bunch of them had to come on the road getting those wins. So that game is coming on in about 30 minutes. Folks, we're out of time here today on Centex Primetime. Want to thank everybody for watching.
Do we have time to celebrate the tush push is coming
back?
Yeah,
go ahead. I forgot. We talked about it yesterday, but I forgot. To get you on here. What did you think about that, man? How did they even put this much effort into trying to shut this thing down? This is kind of crazy.
What I heard today was the league asked Green Bay to propose this rule, and so this is a play that the league doesn't want to see anymore. And all this about not calling it a football play. Listen. How many times do we see a straight handoff to the running back? It's 2nd and 5. He gets right up to the stick, and some people start pushing him over the line. It's the same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
So it's definitely a football play.
Yeah.
I think the problem with it is, people made it sound like it was automatic. It was only good 83% of the time that they used it last year. Buffalo used it to the 71% effect rate. So if you can't find a way to stop it defensively, you need to play better defense in the earlier rounds.
Figure out a way to stop it.
Stop letting them get in the third and 1 and 4th and 1.
It doesn't make any sense to me. How are we going to say this move is so unstoppable we have to ban it? Yeah. I'm sure in the 1930s or whatever when they first started in the NFL, I'm sure a post route probably seemed unstoppable. Yeah. But somebody figured out, you put a safety over there, you can stop it.
This is what happens when a play becomes so dominant. I mean, remember when Lou Alcindor was in college, they banned the dunk. They literally banned dunking. Because nobody could stop it. Yeah. So this is what happens. If we can't stop it, let's get rid of it.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then they're acting like Philly and Buffalo are the only team that tried it. And no, everybody's tried it.
Yeah.
Philly just got a quarterback that can squat 500 pounds, so that's why it worked. Yeah. Buffalo's got a 6'6", 250-pound quarterback. Yeah. That's why it works. It's not like this is just some new unstoppable glitch or something that nobody can do. Figure out a way to stop it. That should give y'all something to do in the offseason. If no one knows how to stop it, Green Bay, why are you sitting up complaining about it? Figure out a way to stop it then.
Yeah,
and they play Philly again this year, so I hope they do it 10 times when they play y'all, because that should make that fun. But I'm agreeing with you, man. I thought it was just ridiculous that I didn't think it'd even go this long. I thought when they first said it, they were just gonna be all right.
I mean, they were just if 2 other teams would have voted no, it would have been banned.
This was a multiple week deliberation they had to have about this. So
it was really
that's
close.
Actually pretty crazy. Said, appreciate you jumping on here with us today, man. We're out of time here today on Centex Primetime. We'll be back next week, folks, to cover more of what we just saw this week in the conference finals. We'll talk some more about the local sports topics, and, of course, we'll talk some more about the NFL offseason. Want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching with us. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already on YouTube. We'll be back here at same time, same place next week. Everybody have a great weekend.